Welcome, guys. Welcome back to Surviving Narcissism. So, tonight, what we are going to do, I don't know why it looks like I'm not looking in the camera, but I'm telling you guys, I am looking at the webcam. Uh, what is this called? I guess I don't know what it's called, guys, but the little opening on top of my camera. That's what I'm looking at on top of my laptop. So, but to me, it just looks like I am not looking straight. But that's neither here nor there. Tonight's video is going to be about healing from trauma, grief, abuse, neglect, abandonment, uh, manipulation tactics, word salad, discard, all of the things that you go through when you have been in a relationship or raised by people with narcissistic personalities, NPD, Narcissistic Personality Disorders. Okay, this is something that is very rampant and it's just not talked about enough. I believe because majority of people are suffering from this disorder and they are not either aware of it or not willing to get therapy and the help they need to heal from this disorder that is so toxic and very damaging to others as well as themselves. Um, and me, a little bit about me. I actually have been raised by a narcissistic parent, my mother, as well as God just revealed to me a couple of months ago that my father is also a narcissist. Now, my father has not been in my life ever since, well, let me back up a little bit. When my mother and father got a divorce, I think I was around 5. Let's just go with 5. It was either 4 or 5, but I really believe I was like 5 at the time. Everything is so foggy because everything happened so fast. And right afterwards, after the situation that occurred with them that caused this separation, it was that also was traumatic. Um, but the end result was the separation. And I would say 3, maybe 2 to 3 years went by before I saw my father again. And that was only a 30-minute visit at the most. And then again, maybe I want to say 5 years later, 5 or 6 years later, uh, second visit that was also 30 minutes at the most. Um, at the time, the first visit, I realized that there was a disconnect. Um, I didn't know what it was because at the time I think I was around 7 or 8. And so, of course, you don't know what's going on. You just know what's going on internally, meaning that you feel something is off with your spirit. You feel something off with the connection. That's the only thing I knew at the time. Um, Prior to that first visit, I already was, excuse me, guys, give me 1 second. I was already beginning to disconnect from my identity because of the brokenness that came about, meaning my heart was broken, um, because my father was no longer in my life, um, until he came around after a couple of years. And that broke my heart. And I didn't have an outlet for this pain. So I was already starting to withdraw from myself because I didn't understand why I was so sad and so um, becoming so introverted in a way. And it was all because of this pain that I had nowhere for it to go because I didn't get any kind of counseling, as well as my mother was not the nurturing type, or she wasn't available emotionally, mentally. So this is something that was just coming um because I didn't have the outlet, and I didn't know where else to go for this type of pain except for to go to begin to um, withdraw from myself, trying to, I assume, escape the pain, but that did not stop it. It just continued to, it's like this void in my heart continued to grow. And the more it grew, the more I withdrew um, into myself and didn't know what was going on at the time. Um, After the second visit, it didn't change anything. It still was the same old disconnect that I felt from the last visit. And I, that even broke me even further because I'm thinking, okay, maybe the second visit may be different. Or either I'm hoping that that's going to be the case, but still wasn't any connection there. So after that last visit, did not see my father again anymore. Um, and this is a sign of breadcrumbing that was going on. But of course, at the time, I did not know that's what was happening. Um, and so, anyone that has been in a narcissistic relationship, you know that they don't ever take accountability. They don't take responsibility for anything. They don't acknowledge your feelings. They don't um, show any compassion or any love or any caring for your feelings. It's all just a cold, uh, basically um, surface level type of relationship, even when it comes to your parents. Um, that if they are operating in that narcissistic personality disorder. Um, and so after that happened, and I didn't see him again, ever again, of course, throughout the course of my years, I just continued to uh, take this abandonment personally because at this point I was officially abandoned because, as I said, I didn't see him anymore. Then, before I even came for these two visits, I never spoke to him or anything until that actual day that he called to let us know that he was going to come back. So, all of these years in between the visits, after the visits, no communication. So, at that point, I knew I was officially abandoned. And this abandonment triggered so much in me, unworthiness, resentment. Um, I was just broken. to the core. And I could not understand why would my father abandon me completely and not be concerned about what's going on in my life. Am I okay? Um, I didn't understand it. It did not make sense to me. And so all of this time, I'm going through this. Now, my mother is in a new relationship, and this man that she has married is an alcoholic, and he is turning our lives upside down just about every week with alcoholic rages. Again, my mother wasn't ever nurturing, ever um, mentally available to me. So I'm still basically going through everything that is happening in my environment alone because I don't have a safe space to vent about any pain or any traumas that I'm experiencing or have already experienced. So all of this is festering, festering, festering. So eventually I ran away, went to stay with my sister and met a guy while I was over there and ended up being in a relationship with this guy and ended up pregnant at 15. This guy was already um, starting to abuse me before I got pregnant, which I didn't even expect any of that. That came out of nowhere because he was just so nice and so funny and just kept me laughing all the time. And the abuse just came out of nowhere. And once I got pregnant, it did not stop. So I was physically abused by my child's father while I was pregnant. Um, and then he was a menace to society in real life. So he was getting in trouble all the time, you know, and actually uh, shot someone, not shot at someone, but shot someone. And this happened a couple of times. So the first time he went to jail and got out, then some situation happened with the person he shot, and then he was able to get off, and then he went back to jail again for another incident of a different shooting, and this continued to go on until eventually he did not get a bail the second time. So around this time, I am, of course, my pregnancy is getting, further and further along. Um, so I'm going through this mentally about him being a menace to society in real life. Um, I'm still battling with at this point I was battling depression already because of the abandonment of my father, then the physical abuse of him, my child's father. So I was still going through all of this emotional abuse, mental abuse, and physical abuse in silence. And after he went to jail the second time and I went back home, my mother was not happy, of course. By this time, I was already 4 months pregnant. Um, the only thing she asked me was, where was the father and did I want the child? Um, I let her know the father was in jail, and that, I didn't have an answer. The only thing I did was shrug my shoulders when she asked me if I wanted to keep the baby. So I don't know what made her take that and come up with the decision that she did, but after a couple of weeks, she took me to this clinic. I had no idea what kind of clinic it was. Uh, Come to find out, it was abortion clinic. So she came up with this scheme to abort my child that was growing and full grown by this time, um, because I'm 4.5 months pregnant. So, of course, at this time, your child is fully developed. And so I believe in my heart that this was done intentionally by not telling me where I was going, because she didn't give me an option. She just set this up on her own to terminate my child, to unalive my child. And that was just something that I would never understand, because it was just very cruel, horrific, and selfish and evil to back someone in a corner like this, because at the time I didn't have anyone to go to, no one to turn to, accept her. And she turned me away by taking me to an abortion clinic and taking me to an abortion clinic and setting up this appointment to terminate my child. Um, Everything happened so fast. The only thing I know is I went back to get an ultrasound. I still didn't know what was going on at the time. I came out and they told her, how much it would be to terminate the pregnancy. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, what's going on? And um, this can't be happening. I'm too far. They're not going to do this. But sure enough, I didn't even think my mother had money to pay when the lady told her how much it would be. Sure enough, she had the money already in her purse, so she already had it planned and knew how much it was going to be because she had the money already on her. So this was something that she orchestrated, planned, and executed. Um, all I know is they told her that they would need to insert something in me and I would have to come back the next day to have it removed and have my child removed. And this is what took place after she paid. The only thing I was standing there thinking of was the abuse that I went through and the fact that I didn't have any support or anyone that was willing to come to my defense or to help support me and in my time of vulnerability. And I didn't know what to say. I just stood there, basically a deer in headlights, didn't really know what to do or how to stop it. I didn't know how or what to say. So this all just played out, and I had to go home with this thing inside of me, with my child dying inside of me, and knowing that my child was not moving anymore. I knew it was a wrap. Um, had to go back the next day and they removed my child. At that time, I didn't even want it done anymore. I wanted to stop it, but it was too late. So I was screaming and screaming no, and trying to fight the process, the anesthesia. And so I felt a lot of the pain because I did not want to allow them to take my baby. And at that time, they basically had to hold me down and they took my baby. And this was something that was so violating and so horrible and so um, traumatizing. And that ride home was so deafening. Um, the silence was just so deafening because I really could not believe that I really allowed my mother to take my child from me without any fight in me to uh, stand up for myself. I basically just gave in to the process, and that haunted me forever. And still to the day, as you can see, it's hard for me to talk about, because it's something that you cannot take back. And it also left me feeling guilty because I felt like I had a part in my own child's life being taken. And so this is a grief and a trauma that never leaves, never um, goes away. It just uh, gets easier once you have surrendered to Christ, because that's the only way to be healed from this type of trauma. Um, and so, all of my life, ever since that happened, my mother never apologized, never um, took me to get any therapy, never asked me, was I okay? Nothing. And so, all of this I had to live with until one day I exploded and brought it up to her and said she never apologized for, taking me to abort my child. And then she apologized then, but I really don't believe it was sincere. I think she just said it because I was upset and crying, because it didn't come from her own accord. It was because I brought it up to her. And this is what you deal with when it's someone with this narcissistic personality disorder. They don't have any type of empathy for another person, not even their own child. And the crazy part about it is they get people to rally around them because of how well they manipulate circumstances, and how they play victim and play possum as if they don't know why a person acts a certain way towards them. The whole while um, they are putting on this show for other people, but when it's just you and them, and either on the phone or in person, however, and all of the years that you have been around them, when it's just you and them, you know what you have grown up under, what you have dealt with, what you have experienced, and it never changes unless they want to change. And so this is something that is still going on, because these people have lived this way all of their lives. So they are comfortable living as if no one else matters but themselves, or how someone else feels about, or how they hurt someone else doesn't matter to them. They walk around with this um, basically cold demeanor. um, I can't even explain these people's mental capacity, or basically um, lack thereof, as well as their heartless, um, cold. I just keep getting cold because that's what it is. It's like a um, cold person without any feelings. They seem to not have any feelings, and I don't know what she has been through as a child. I'm assuming she had to go through some type of trauma for her to have this type of uh, personality disorder, but I really don't know what it is. But this is something that is a mental disorder, and it is very damaging to people that are their children, because they are the ones that are closest to them and have had to spend the most time with them. And so people on the outside looking in, they don't know because they haven't had to live with them. When you've had to live with these people, you get the bird's eye view. You know exactly what's going on. You know what you get. You know what to expect and what not to expect. And this is just a very destructive mental disorder that damages people for years. And for me, I recently decided to tell my testimony on TikTok as well as Facebook, because I know I can't be the only one that is going through this. And right now, today, I'm still going through the same thing. I don't, I've never really had a close relationship with my mother ever. It's just, we've just had to, um, I guess, tolerate each other. I guess that's how you can say it, because we were in the same house. I was living with her. But as far as a relationship or something, I can't really say that it was a relationship. It's just it feels like just a it feels just like an associate, someone that you know, but you don't really have a relationship with them. That's how it feels, because it's not any type of depth to it. That's how it feels. And it's so strange because it shouldn't be that way when that is your the person who birthed you. But that is just how it is. And it's so crazy because it causes you not to develop socially when you have this type of mother and father. And so it affects you and makes you not know how to connect to others. So it trickles over into your parenting. I'm not that parent that is the openest to talk to, um, meaning I didn't dig that deep with my kids, because I was so introverted. But when it came to their feelings, and if they're going through something, I'm going to ask questions. I'm going to want to know. I may not have been the most, um, what is the word, Holy Spirit? The most, I don't even know what, I don't have the language for it, but I guess warmest person, because of what I've experienced. I'm kind of a product of what I've been through. So it causes me to not know how to express myself and talk, or even want to tell my kids anything about me, because I have, like, been ashamed of what happened to me. So it's like it kept me in this psychological prison that made me afraid to go too far in my past and talk about it, um, for the fact of embarrassment. And so maybe that's what my mother deals with, and these people with these narcissistic personality disorders deal with. Maybe it's embarrassment that the reason why they're so closed off. Because I know what happened to me. I don't know what happened to her. But as far as to, I may have been like her in that sense to where I wasn't the type to be so nurturing, but when it came to me thinking that something is wrong with my child, I'm going to ask questions. I'm going to inquire because I want them to know I notice something is wrong. That's the only difference because I have empathy where she didn't have any empathy. Um, that's the difference. She didn't notice anything wrong with me to say, okay, it's time for me to, ask some questions because something is wrong. No, it's just the difference is they don't have any empathy. They don't care what's hurting you or what you're going through. It's all about them. They want all of the attention on them, and their love is conditional. If you're not giving them information they want to hear, if you're not catering to what they need at the time, um, then they have this type of shutdown with you instead of them being a mother to you or a father to you. It's, oh, if you don't do this, then you don't get any of me. And that is conditional love. So that's the difference. I may not have been nurturing to my children because I didn't know how to do that. You have to, you as a child, you model behavior that you have learned. Thank God I didn't pick up the um, narcissistic personality disorder. I believe I did pick up the part not nurturing, but I still cared. I may not nurture, but I cared. My mother did not care, did not nurture, um, was neglecting of how I felt, abandoned me mentally, um, emotionally. I don't abandon my kids emotionally. I'm paying attention. I'm asking questions. Um, and I'm concerned. You know, the only thing is I may not have known how to nurture. Um, that's something that I had to learn and still is learning. But that's why this stuff is so dangerous because it passes down to your children because sometimes people take it and it causes them to turn into um, that same type of individual. But for those of us that are empaths, we may have that trait as far as not knowing how to express ourselves or be nurturing because we didn't receive that. And you only model what you have learned, and if you haven't learned it you can't model it. That's just human nature. And so that's by default that we pick up those traits. But one thing about me, I have a huge heart because I'm empathetic. I show empathy. I have sympathy. I care. I'm concerned. I ask questions. Um, that's the difference. A narcissistic person do not care. They're not concerned. They don't ask questions. Whatever you're going through, you're on your own. It's a all about them party at all times. And if things isn't going their way, they don't want to be bothered. It's like they never knew you. And so it's just sad that people like this don't think they don't think they need help. They don't see anything wrong with their behavior. all of these years has passed by, and you would think as a person get older, even if they missed the mark raising you, after a while they would come around and see their wrongs. But no, still the same old person, still avoiding accountability, still avoiding responsibility, still cutting you off if you don't um, cater to them and what they want and how they want you to respond and what um, they expect from you. It's a one-sided relationship, basically. So, still here, but one thing that I learned that I had to do was distance myself and set boundaries. So I don't subject myself to any more abuse and trauma. I love my mother, I love my father, but I cannot continue to subject myself to any toxicity and any person that do not want to acknowledge or take accountability for the hurt and the pain and the trauma that they've caused and the damage that they have caused. Because I have surrendered all of my pain, all of my traumas to